The scream at Foro Italico and everything it carries. The tennis world has just witnessed a moment that no one in attendance that day will ever forget. As Alex Eala's final forehand hit the mark and her opponent's lob sailed past the baseline, the scream that erupted from the 20-year-old girl from Manila, Philippines, was not just a typical roar of victory. No, this was something much deeper. And if you heard that scream and felt nothing, you don't yet understand the story behind it. The final score was 6-0, 3-6, 6-4. Three numbers that look simple on a scoreboard. But don't let those numbers fool you, because this wasn't an easy straight sets win. This was a three-set battle containing everything a top-tier tennis match can hold. Total dominance in the first set, a genuine collapse in the second, and a deciding set where the result depended entirely on human character. But to truly understand why that scream resonated so powerfully, on the court, in the stands of Foro Italico, and in the hearts of millions of Filipinos watching from around the globe, you need to understand all three sets, not just the result, the whole story. Because the whole story is what gives this victory meaning in a way a highlight clip never could. Let me tell you about it. This isn't the story of a young girl having a lucky day. This is the story of an athlete who endured dawn training sessions that no one saw, qualifying rounds that no one covered, and defeats that had to be swallowed in silence and solitude. And then all of it, everything that had been compressed, shattered in one moment, one sound, before a crowd that was entirely unprepared to be shaken by a 20-year-old Filipino player. And that crowd was completely shaken. If you want to follow moments like these, matches that reveal who a player truly is when faced with pressure, subscribe to Pro Tennis 360. We tell the stories behind the scores. And the story behind today's score is one you cannot miss. Set 1 was not a warning, it was a statement. The first set of this Italian Open first-round match between Alex Eala and Magdalena Frech ended in just enough time for the audience to realize something extraordinary was happening, and far too quickly for Frech to do anything about it. 6-love, 6-0. A score that sounds neat when written down, but feels far more decisive when witnessed in person. From the very first exchange, Eala's game had a quality that longtime tennis observers recognize instantly: intent. Every ball that left her racket had a specific destination. Every forehand had a target. Every shot in the rally had a clear direction. There were no filler shots, no hesitant probing, no waiting to see how the match would develop before deciding on a playstyle. She stepped onto the clay at Foro Italico as if the decision had already been made, and all that remained was execution. Frech, a seasoned professional who has defeated top 20 players, could find no way into the rallies. Eala was too fast, too aggressive, too precise. The ball speed coming off Eala's racket gave Frech no time to set up her game. Every time Frech tried to build a point, Eala broke it. Every time Frech tried to change direction, Eala was already moving. A 6-0 set in professional women's tennis is not common. A 6-0 set against a veteran opponent at a premier-level clay tournament is even rarer. And the way it was done, not through the opponent's errors, but through deliberate and consistent dominance, sent a message to everyone watching. This wasn't a player having a lucky day. This was a player who came with a plan and executed it at a level that left no room for anything else. Frech shifted her stance, tried different angles, attempted to increase the depth of her shots. Nothing worked. Every time she found a solution, Eala already had an answer ready. 6-love, a statement in the language of tennis. I am here, I am ready, and this is only the beginning. Set 2 told the truth about the kind of athlete Alex Eala truly is. Great athletes are not defined by what happens when they are leading. They are defined by what happens when the match turns its back on them. And in the second set of the Italian Open first round, the match turned its back on Alex Eala. Frech made the adjustments that seasoned professionals make when they are being overwhelmed in direct exchanges. She slowed the game down, she extended the rallies, she took pace off the ball and forced Eala to generate her own power. Instead of competing on Eala's terms, speed, aggression, hitting the ball early, she completely changed the conditions of the contest. And for a while, it worked. The rallies grew longer, the points became heavier, the atmosphere in the stadium shifted from anticipation to tension. Eala, who looked nearly unstoppable in the first set, suddenly had to think more. She had to work harder for every point. She had to solve a different kind of problem than the one she had handled so easily. And here lies the honest truth of the second set. She didn't solve it perfectly. There were points where she tried to end the rally too quickly, shots where her patience ran out a few strokes earlier than necessary. She made errors that didn't appear in the first set, errors of haste, the mistakes of a player trying to impose a rhythm that the surface would not allow in those circumstances. The second set went to Frech, 6-3. But here is the important part. In the gap between what Eala did in the first set and what she did in the second, in that gap is the most vital information about her as a competitor. It wasn't the dominance, it was the reaction to losing that dominance. And what came next would answer the question that the second set had posed. Frech's strategy was perfectly designed, and Eala had to find the answer in real time. To understand the third set, you need to understand what Frech was trying to do and how brilliant her plan actually was. Frech realized correctly that she could not beat Alex Eala in a game of speed and aggression. When exchanges are fast and points end quickly, Eala's advantage is structural. Her movement, her strike rate, her ability to change direction at high speeds, all of it gives her an edge that Frech could not overcome with technique alone. So, Frech chose not to play that game. She dragged the rallies into territory where the physical and mental demands of the match would accumulate, a place where the question being asked wasn't who hits the better ball, but who can maintain focus through the 20th shot of a rally, then reset and do it again and again and again. This was a sophisticated strategic choice. Frech was trying to move the match into another dimension, where her consistency and Eala's impatience could become the deciding factors. And for much of the second set, it worked. Eala's errors came in clusters. Her timing on aggressive shot selection was off. She was solving the right problem with the wrong tool, trying to end points quickly in a match that Frech was specifically designing to be long. In those moments, you could see the version of Alex Eala that still has room to grow. The player who hadn't yet fully mastered the art of patience on clay, who hadn't yet fully developed the ability to sit in a long rally, wait for the moment, and trust that the opportunity would come. But here is the key point. She recognized it. Between the second and third sets, something changed, not physically, but mentally and tactically.
She looked back at what was happening, didn't blame luck or the surface, and asked herself, what do I need to change to win this match the way it is actually being played? And in the third set, the answer arrived. The reset between sets was the most critical moment of the entire match. No one in the stands saw it clearly. The cameras didn't capture it. The commentators didn't name it. But between the second and third sets of Alex Eala's Italian Open first-round match, something shifted in how she approached the competition. And that shift is why this video exists. Because what happened in the third set wasn't a sequel to what happened in the first. It wasn't a return to dominance through speed and aggression. What happened in the third set was something subtler and, in the long run, more significant. Eala stepped out with intent, not with aggression, but with intent. There is a difference here, and that difference is vital. Aggression is about imposing your game on the match. Intent is about finding the right game for the match that is actually happening. In the first set, aggression and intent were identical. She could impose her speed and Frech couldn't handle it. In the second set, she kept trying to impose when the match had changed shape. In the third set, she stopped imposing and started reading. Bawat rally may plano. Every rally had a plan. Not a plan to end the point as fast as possible, a plan to construct the point precisely, move Frech into the right position, and wait for the opening to appear. This shift from shot maker to strategist is not easy to make mid-match. Most players under this kind of pressure retreat to what feels safe. They play faster to compensate for uncertainty. They try to impose more because it's the only thing they know how to do when things aren't going according to plan. What Eala did was the opposite. She slowed down inside the points. She trusted the process. And on clay, where the surface punishes haste and rewards discipline, that was exactly the right answer. It was a moment of maturity, and the match could never go back. Eala turned the clay surface into her greatest weapon in the deciding set. Clay is not a surface that rewards rushing. This is something every great clay courter understands, not just in their head, but in their body. The ball moves slower, the bounces are higher. Rallies extend in ways that hard courts and grass do not allow. On clay, the player in a hurry is usually the player about to lose. Because clay doesn't compress time, it expands it. It gives the defender more chances to recover, to redirect, to reset. And what this means in practice, the surface itself punishes impatience and rewards discipline. In the third set, Alex Eala found her discipline. She became comfortable in the long rallies that had unsettled her in the second set. 10 shots, 15, 20. Instead of trying to escape them, she started living in them. She started finding something in those extended points that she couldn't access in the second set, her own reading of where the opportunity lay. Deep cross court, then a sudden drop shot. Wide to the backhand, then down the line. The unpredictability that was absent in the second set returned, but now it was an unpredictability built on patience rather than tempo. Frech, who had controlled the second set by forcing long rallies, now found those very rallies working against her. Because Eala was no longer trying to end them too early. She was waiting, moving Frech, changing directions, building the point toward its conclusion rather than forcing it. On clay, that is the highest form of the game. And in the third set, Eala played it. The rhythm completely inverted.
The game Frech had designed to frustrate Eala was now feeding Eala. Every long rally was another chance for her to read, move, and create. And Frech, who already knew she couldn't win the speed game, now realized she couldn't win the patience game she had built for herself either. On clay, you have to choose your game, and Eala took it right out of her opponent's hands. From 3-3 to 5-4, the stretch of tennis that will be remembered for a long time. From 3-3 in the final set, the match became something else entirely. It stopped being a tennis match and became a negotiation over who wanted this more and who could hold their nerves long enough to take it. Every game felt like a final. No one gave an inch. The crowd, which had fluctuated between appreciation and genuine investment during the first two sets, was now completely captivated. You could feel the weight of it in the stadium. Every point carried a consequence beyond itself. Every error fell heavier. Every winner felt more significant. And through all of it, something was happening to Eala's body language that the experienced eye could read clearly. She was getting stronger as the set progressed. Not physically. Physically, both players were being tested by the demands of a three-set match. But in terms of presence, her movements became smoother. Her decisions came faster, with less hesitation. Her positioning between points was more declarative than reactive. She was no longer managing the match. She was taking it over. 5-4, serving for the match. The stadium went silent. In that way, stadiums go silent when they understand the defining moment has arrived and they don't want to breathe wrong. And Eala stood at the baseline, the match on her serve. And she did something that tells you everything you need to know about the player she is becoming. She didn't rush. She didn't try to end it quickly. She played the points the way she had played the entire third set, with intent, with patience, with a plan. Every shot had a purpose. Every move had a direction. Nothing was improvised. Nothing was forced. That is a player in total control, not of the match, but of herself. And sometimes that is far more important. The match point moment and why the scream that followed matters to everyone. A forehand, a floating lob from Frech with nowhere to go, a winner, and then the scream. But what makes the scream at match point in a professional tennis match meaningful isn't the sound itself. It's what comes before it. Because a scream is a release, and you can only fully understand a release when you understand what has been held back. Through the entire third set, through the momentum swings, through the 3-3 phase that felt like it could go either way, through the 5-4 serving moment when the pressure was at its most concentrated, through all of it, Alex Eala held firm. She didn't panic. She didn't try to force the conclusion before it was ready. She played the points the right way, hit the ball with confidence, and then, only after the work was finished, only after the match was over, she let it all out. That is a specific psychological skill. The ability to delay emotion until the moment is complete. To not let the importance of what you are trying to do interfere with the actual act of doing it. And then, when it's done, to feel it fully. The fist pump, the jump, the hugging herself. That wasn't a performance. That was a genuine discharge. The kind that comes after something has truly been endured. And for every Filipino watching from Italy, from the United States, from the Middle East, from every corner of the world where the Filipino diaspora follows this young girl from Manila, that scream was theirs too, because she had carried them all through those 3 sets.
This isn't just sports. This is honor. This is pride. This is proof that a Filipino can stand on any court in the world and not just compete, but prevail. And that scream, the one that echoed off the Foro Italico and across the oceans, said it louder than any words ever could. What this victory truly proves about Alex Eala's place right now. The most important word in tennis analysis isn't win, it's how. Winning is common. Every player on the WTA Tour wins matches. The question that separates players who will reach the top from players who will hit a ceiling isn't whether they can win, but how they win when the match demands something from them that their comfort zone doesn't automatically provide. Against Frech at the Italian Open, Alex Eala was forced to answer that question in real time, in public, with the match on the line. And her answer, in the most meaningful sense, was correct. The 6-0 first set showed her capability at her best. The 3-6 second set showed her vulnerabilities, the version of her game that still has room to grow, the impatience that clay punishes, the difficulty in adjusting when a veteran opponent changes the terms of engagement. The 6-4 third set showed something more valuable than both of those. It showed the ability to recognize a problem, adapt to it, and execute the solution under pressure. That is the blueprint of a future elite player. Not perfection, not dominance on good days, but the ability to solve problems on difficult days. From the Rafael Nadal Academy to the international stage, Eala's development has been systematic and intentional. What you saw in this match was the product of that system meeting genuine grit. And the combination of those two things, a proper development path and true psychological resilience, is what separates those who win occasionally from those who win consistently at the highest level. At the Italian Open, she didn't just win a match, she won it the right way. And on the path from promising player to champion, the right way matters far more than the score. The question is no longer if she can win, the question is how far she will go. After Alex Eala left the Foro Italico court with her first-round victory at the Italian Open, the conversation around her changed. It had to, because the version of that match that ended 6-0, 3-6, 6-4 was not the performance of a player still proving she belongs at this level. It was the performance of a player who has already answered that question and is now asking a different one. Not, can I compete at this level, but how much of this level can I own? A 20-year-old player who can dominate a set 6-0, survive a second set reversal, re-engineer her game strategy mid-match, and close out a deciding set under total pressure, that person is no longer just a promising young player. She is a real contender.
And the difference between those two categories isn't just semantics, it changes how opponents prepare for her, how tournaments seed her, and how the tennis world positions her in the larger conversation about who the next generation of champions will be. The Italian Open was her opening statement at Foro Italico. If the trajectory continues, if the patterns hold, if the composure she showed in the third set becomes the floor rather than the ceiling, then the question of how far she will go stops being speculative. It becomes a matter of time. One name will keep coming up: Alex Eala, a Filipino, a warrior, and very possibly the next great name in world tennis. This is the kind of story that Pro Tennis 360 was built to tell. Not highlights, not summaries, but real analysis, the tactical layers, the psychological moments, the cultural factors that create greatness on the court.
If you want to understand tennis deeper than what you see on the scoreboard, subscribe to Pro Tennis 360 now. We are here for every match that defines a generation.